welcome to another edition of the Time Travel Theory with me, Matthew Salzer. This is, of course, my current series. This will be the last one before I take a break for something I'm planning for Halloween, and then after that we'll come back to it on the other side of October. So for today I'm going to go over the recently released, well, not recently released, but released this year, Avengers Endgame, because this involves a lot of complicated time travel, so be prepared to have your minds blown. So as I mentioned in previous videos, there's one of two ways in which you time travel in science fiction. You either have one timeline in which you go from the same timeline to another point and you literally affect the timeline, or you have the alternate timeline theory where when you take a jump, you're not jumping from one timeline to the other, you are jumping from your own timeline to another timeline, and this one's going to remain unaffected, keeps going, whereas you create another one by going there. That is what happens for the most part in the MCU, with the exception of the fact of when you start using the time stone, in which case it's the single timeline theory. So, that being said, here we go. So in Avengers Endgame, what they do is they use the quantum realm and basically are able to jump to alternate dimensions in order to retrieve the time stones, which Thanos destroyed in the beginning of it in order to prevent the snap from being reversed. So, in order to do that, the Avengers figured out how to jump back, but they needed to pick their targets because without Hank Pym, you had no Pym particles, so they only had the round trip one way back, unless they came up with something clever. So what originally happened was you had the team of Hulk, Captain America Steve Rogers, Iron Man Tony Stark, and Scott Lang Ant-Man go to 2012 to pick up 3 of the stones. You had Rocket and Thor go to 2013 to pick up 1 of the stones, and then you had the final 4, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, Nebula, and James Rhodes, War Machine. However, there was a little bit of a screw up when trying to get the Tesseract, and as a result, Tony made up a final last second goal to go to 1970, where he knew the Tesseract would be, to SHIELD headquarters and steal it from essentially his dad and get more particles from Hank Pym. Now, in theory, everything was fine and dandy except for the fact that 2014 Thanos got wind of it and was able to capitalize on that. Come to 2023, and basically there was a large battle after the snap had happened. So, however, then it gets even more complicated when all of this was erased, and Steve Rogers, rather than just coming back home, decided to make one more trip to live out an alternate timeline in which he gets to spend the rest of his life essentially with Peggy Carter, the woman who he never actually got to spend time with and who was essentially the love of his life. But then he comes back from that alternate timeline, but still you have that alternate timeline. And then also there's the fact that Loki took off with the Tesseract in the alternate timeline they created, so yeah, we got a bunch of alternate timelines going on here in the MCU. We'll just have to see how that all goes. So that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, but be sure to comment down below. Be sure to check out my Twitter and Instagram down below, and let me know what you think, and if you want to see some other types of videos, maybe even a specific type of time travel video, and I will see you next time. Bye!